Hi, everyone. My name is Ava Lanteri, and this is CMC. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a marvelous day. I want to talk with you all about how Black people have come to work for free from 1619 to today, and all foreseeable future until systemic adjustments are made. Having their intellectual property stolen via systemic caveats which aim to keep Black people economically unstable, internally convinced they are less than, and externally at arms with one another. We're going to expound upon how this happens today and how it began historically. Today, we see this happening in every employment industry. A company hires a Black person for a position, then adds additional responsibilities, which should mean increased salary, yet they still earn baseline pay or the pay of the initial position. They assign a workload that wouldn't be assigned to others. They barricade your ideas from receiving the credit and compensation which is deserved. Your suggestions in meetings are dismissed and then implemented with a pay increase for someone else the next day. When you speak up, you are gaslit and told that's not your job. Then there are new staff members added to remind you of your subsidiary location in the hierarchy of the company and the greater America. Some organizations have an idea box where you put your ideas and the company implements them without any credit for you. I'd argue this is engineered to subconsciously target Black people who are more likely to believe that no one will truly support their growth, that they will not be taken seriously, that they will be viewed as stupid or out of line for presenting a new approach, and so on. The banks and financial institutions are part of the system as well. Black entrepreneurship is vastly discouraged, in addition to how challenging it can even be to make that decision in the first place. That means having to have insurance outside of your employer, but if your company can't make income immediately, you and your family will be living off of savings if you have them, and if there's enough to cover groceries, rent, utilities, health insurance, childcare, and the startup of your business. This is near impossible for many Black Americans. The banks are corrupt, biased, and look the other way to not enable access to the financial backing needed to launch their independent business. They ask for documents they would not ask others for, and even when they can provide everything asked for, Black business owners are twice as likely to be denied bank loans, and only 29% of Black business owners who applied for traditional financing received all the funding they requested, compared to the 54% of white applicants. Black applicants are 80% more likely to be denied a mortgage than white applicants with the same financial profile. We're not talking about criminals. We are talking about Black American citizens who are denied access because of the color of their skin and because the world is so terrified of what could be possible should they be able to access their true potential. This is evil. It is stolen legacy and stolen wealth. It is criminal, yet they keep Blackness in the headlines as such. So you get complacent and you learn how to show employers that you can only do the bare minimum, even though you have the creativity, drive, and capacity to be your supervisor's supervisor. Not only that, but the capacity to build your own empire. But because you do not have the financial backing and the banks ensure you will not get it, you just concede and play your part because it's not worth losing your sanity nor your life to fight against a system built to steal from you. Black Americans have been forced to accept wage as the new slavery. This then only feeds the overall perspective that Black people are lazy, unintelligent, and unmotivated, when in reality, they just want to be given a chance that they know is out of reach. So why would they sacrifice the little piece they can access to fight for what feels so unbeatable? What about the ones who aren't granted that little piece? They are the ones who become the live wires and are seen as a threat to society. But what drove them there? How many need not apply experiences did they have? How many ideas did they hand over with hope to only be treated as a ghost? How many times did they try to create their own wealth but were denied? We don't tell that to the media. The headlines don't read Black man pushed to his limits due to systemic injustice, neglect, and maltreatment. They read criminal shoots other lowlife in cold blood. Another sector this occurs in is the trademark and patent industry. It is a sham. The way it works is you submit an application with all of the specifications of your idea. They tell you it will take months, sometimes even years, to process, in which time the entirety of your application, which not only includes your intellectual property, but also your phone number and even your home address, is made publicly available for all to consume. After all of that, they can deny you, then steal your idea, and someone with real money can utilize it and make an immeasurable profit, all within the legality of America's most just system. Less than 3% of US patents belong to Black inventors. And between 1976 and 2020, Black inventors held just 1.7% of all US patents, despite making up over 13% of the US population. Money gives access to specified knowledge, hiring attorneys who have the knowledge to ensure true ownership and maintain such, as well as accountants and other money management supports which ensure the longevity of financial stability. This is a quote from the Harvard Business Review. If Black people invented at the same rate as white people, the US innovation rate would quadruple. I'd adjust that a bit to say if Black people were allowed to take credit for their inventions, because they are inventing, they simply are denied the ability to claim their intellectual property as part of a systemic and international agenda to maintain the oppression of Black people. Lastly, for present-day existence of Black people working for free or unjustly denied royalties for their work, we have the prison industrial complex. This entire system centers the 13th Amendment, which prohibits slavery except as punishment for a crime. This means slavery was never abolished, it was simply rebranded. This led to mass incarceration of Black men. The more bodies for labor, the more companies which can benefit. Prison labor alone contributes at least $2 billion annually, with some estimates reaching $5 to $10 billion annually. Production includes military gear, food, electronics, lingerie, and much more. Companies which utilize this rebranded slave labor include Walmart, McDonald's, Sam's Club, Popeyes, Tyson, and much more. When you take into account the phone calls, which cost $1 to $15 per minute, the $5 sandwiches, and the $8 toothpaste, all of which are not luxury amenities for luxury prices, the proceeds only grow. Companies which benefit from those contracts include Armark, Keefe Group, and Securus. The net effective earnings for incarcerated people is typically less than $1 per hour, and in some states, it is $0 per hour. Walmart is America's most profitable company, which retails garments, circuit boards, furniture, body armor, and more produced by prison labor. Primary beneficiaries of prison labor are state and federal governments, which save an estimated $9 billion per year by using inmate labor for tasks like cleaning, maintenance, road work, and emergency services. When including construction, legal services, parole systems, and surveillance, in addition to prison labor and services, the US generates approximately $182 billion annually. This is more than the movie and TV industry, making approximately $135 billion annually, or professional sports, making approximately $90 billion annually. This is heartbreaking. These are lives being destroyed for the dollar signs to build up in accounts that have never seen zero. The prison industrial complex exists to steal lives for the benefit of an economy which will never allow the true brilliance to see the light of day. Black people make up 13.6% of the US population, yet they make up 38% of the prison population, making Black men 5 times more likely to be incarcerated than white men and 3 times more likely than all other races. This leads to a whole other issue of targeting Black communities, maintaining economic deprivation, denying access to build generational wealth, and keeping the general public unaware of the truth and convinced Blackness equals criminality. This is not because Black people are bad. It is because Black people are still being punished for their existence. Any human would crumble under the conditions forced upon Black Americans, yet they still stand. It's all part of a bigger system that everyone in America is fed from birth. It's a subconscious conditioning that Black minds and bodies are less than while we function in a society built on centuries of their exploitation. We do not learn the true historic impact which Black Americans have had on this country. the industrial and international success of such. We do not learn this because if we knew this, Black people would be encouraged to profit for their knowledge. And for some reason that I simply cannot understand, the entire world wants Black people to suffer. They want to provide just enough to ensure destruction among Black communities and allow a few tokens to succeed to implement this facade that Black people have opportunities and everything is equal. Now, with the present day occurrence of Black extortion made clear, let's dive into the history. During slavery, Black people would invent something and their so-called slave masters would get the credit for it, as well as trademark it, because at the time, enslaved people were considered property and therefore could not have any property of their own. A great example of this is the cotton gin, an invention attributed to Eli Whitney, who supposedly was not a slave master at the time of his invention. However, it is admitted that he was staying on a plantation. He likely took the idea of an enslaved person after their slave master had contacted him about some machine the slaves had created. Why am I so certain of this? Because the slave owners and Eli Whitney did not do the work. They didn't have the need to think, oh wait, there's another way we can do that. The enslaved person had the experience of my arms are tired, my body feels broken, I need to be able to make this easier or I will die here. Enslaved people had the experience of the labor being done, the drive to find a resolution which did not drain their bodies, and still, under this unimaginable stress, were able to invent to better their lives and those around them. Regardless of the speculation, there is a further truth that enslaved people operated, improved, and scaled the cotton gin in ways that revolutionized the cotton industry. America's role as the cotton king of the world is a large reason that America became the superpower it is today. Outside of the invention of the cotton gin, enslaved Black craftsmen invented or innovated plows, irrigation systems, masonry techniques, rice processing machines, tools for sugarcane refining, tobacco cutting, and textile dyeing. None of their families see the profits of such innovation. None of their families got to build generational wealth and a life of stability behind that excellence. Benjamin Montgomery, an enslaved man, created a steam-powered boat propeller, but the patent was denied because he was not legally a citizen. He was legally property. Could you imagine being under that much distress and still having the capacity to invent? That is something that has not changed from history to today for Black Americans. The key point I'm making here is that Black people have been inventing for centuries just to have wealthy Americans of other races claim their work as their own and build generational wealth on an idea that was not theirs to begin with, and profit even further on the perspective that Black people are lazy, unmotivated, unintelligent, indigent, and criminal. Black Americans were legally banned from profiting or even being acknowledged. Their work seeded billion-dollar industries, but their names were erased. Following slavery, Black people were systemically locked out of economic independence and therefore had to work for other businesses. And any ideas they came up with, that business or organization claimed it and denied them the ability to profit from their own ideas. Before they would even implement the idea, they'd discourage them by saying, nobody will buy this, nobody is interested, just do your job, and tell them this isn't going to work. Then, because the company has money and social capital, they would invest in that idea themselves, take credit for that idea, and benefit economically. This is still happening to this day, as we touched upon earlier in the video. Historical examples of such exist in every industry imaginable. The idea for the stoplight should be the intellectual property of the Black man who created it, Mr. Garrett Augustus Morgan. Every nation now utilizes the stoplight, which did not exist until a Black man created it. But does his family profit from them being crucial features in every community, town, city, county, state, province, country, and continent? No, they do not. Mr. Morgan also invented the gas mask, which has saved countless lives, yet many of us don't even know his name, let alone has his family been financially supported behind his revolutionary innovations. He is just another example of Black intellectual property elevating life for all while erasing their role and depriving them of the royalties they are so deserving of. Other historical examples include Sarah Boone, who invented the modern ironing board, Granville T. Woods, who engineered the railroad telegraph system, and Elijah McCoy, who developed the steam engine lubrication system. None of their families received royalties or ongoing compensation, despite these inventions forming the backbone of modern global industries. Most of the greatest Black musicians never owned their music. Tina Turner, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Ray Charles, and Whitney Houston did not own their masters, yet their music earned billions for others. Sam Cooke fought to own his masters in the 1960s and was mysteriously murdered at age 33 while in negotiations for broader rights. Whitney Houston's estate was only recently paid for licensing her image, after her death. Only a handful of Black artists in history have owned their masters. Beyoncé, Rihanna, Russ, and Chance the Rapper are exceptions. The vast majority of artists, even megastars, signed contracts as teenagers and lost their rights forever. Prince and Michael Jackson have historical battles in acquiring their masters. Prince signed with Warner Bros. At the age of 19 and did not own his masters for most of his early, massively profitable career. In the 1990s, he famously wrote "slave" on his face and changed his name to a symbol to protest Warner Bros. Ownership of his work. He gained ownership of his masters in 2014 after nearly 40 years of fighting. 2 years later, in 2016, he died. Prince was one of the first major Black artists to publicly challenge the system, and even after winning, his legacy remains vulnerable. Michael Jackson was an artist for over 30 years, and within that time, he was the most famous person in the world, and he nor his estate ever gained full ownership of his masters. If they can extort, appropriate, and deny ownership to people with money and power like Michael Jackson or Prince, imagine what they are doing to the average Black person. Those who don't have access to money or access to representation. This is classic greed demanding Black people stay at the bottom of the social hierarchy when they try to excel or achieve beyond where the system wants them. There are countless ways to obstruct Black people from making money and progress. They end up working for free or working 2 to 3 times as hard as others and not seeing results. This is maddening, and we need to make it stop. Harboring the wealth and worldwide recognition is greedy, disgusting, and destroys lives on a daily basis, as if life means nothing and it needs to stop. Being an honest person is so important. I feel as though this is why so much damage has been done to Black communities. Black people are good in the soul, likely because their ancestors have not done the peril of others. But under the right conditions, any person will act against their soul. So we deprive, isolate, and extort to keep Black excellence at odds, misguided, and trapped within the system, which we ensure they can never influence. Does that not feel wrong within your soul? Wrong within your heart? Why must we force endless suffering on a people? Because they know how to be truly free, so we must ensure they never access that knowledge? Because they know how to live life at harmony with Mother Earth and all her residents? Why must we snuff that out? Why can we not share? Why can we not give what they have more than earned? Why does our gain need to be at their demise? We are all connected. Chi is the life force which flows through all beings. It is the energy which brings and allows life. When Chi is disrupted, sickness ensues. We have a sickness of our society brought on by the hate for others. Black people are our people. We have plagued ourselves with the mindset of separation, and today Black people pay for it. But that is really our punishment. We are allowing this to happen. We have set it into play, and we sit idly by and allow it to happen while we gorge ourselves on the profits built by their demise. And we think we get to live in harmony. We think our future will be bright. We think we will rest in peace. Supporting the suffering of anyone will not be rewarded.